a presentation on 365 Home Builder, industry-specific accounting package for the residential home building industry. I'm going to start with a few overview slides, kind of introducing myself and Lisa and Western Computer, our company, and then we'll move on to doing some demo pretty quickly. So with that said, introductions. My name is Ryan Poliniak. I work with Western Computer. My title is Cloud Transformation Executive. So I drive a lot of the application selection strategy for our customer base, and then long-term advocacy for our customers to make sure that they've got what they need and they're getting the most out of the solutions. Lisa, who's on the line as well, is going to be doing the demo today. She's a senior consultant with a very strong focus on the home building industry, and she'll be showing you 365 Home Builder. Lisa, if you're on, if you want to give a brief introduction.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Lisa Ramsey. I am the senior lead consultant on our Home Builder product. Would love for you guys to ask a whole bunch of questions when this is over with, and I'm hoping that as we go through the presentation that we give you enough food for thought that you want to learn more.
So Western Computer, a little bit about our company before we get into the product. We're a Microsoft Dynamics 365 implementation and support partner. So Microsoft Dynamics is Microsoft's go-to-market strategy for their business systems, CRM, accounting, inventory management, job costing, project accounting. And so we've been around for over 30 years. We've been exclusively focused on the Microsoft Dynamics application set, implementing and supporting it for the last 20 plus years. And so the way that Microsoft goes to market is that they build these, great horizontal foundational platforms. Dynamics 365 is a collection of those, and they expect partners like Western Computer to actually do the implementation and the support and the long-term, customer relationship management. Microsoft doesn't handle any of that directly, so that's where companies like Western Computer come in. Now, not only does Microsoft not do the implementation and support, but they also don't tailor the application to be specific to any particular industry's needs. So they're not going to build an edition of Dynamics 365 Business Central, which is the platform that 365 Home Builder is built on. They're not going to do a specific edition of it for, food manufacturers and government contractors and residential home builders, all of whom have very different functional needs. They expect the partners like us to go out, pick a few industries, and become experts in those industries. So understand the needs of the industry, build features into the base product set. And I'm not talking about customization, but rather actually building a product for the industry and standardizing it and certifying it and making sure that the needs of that industry are being met on a continuous basis. So that's what we've done in the residential home building industry. We've got a number of customers using Microsoft Dynamics. We've built a productized edition of Dynamics 365 Business Central, and I don't want that to be confused with customizing Business Central, as any company can go take the core product and write custom code for exactly what they need. It's much different than having a productized edition that's managed by a partner. Microsoft provides updates twice a year, and we keep our product in line with that. We continuously pour in R&D. We've got, integration to the leading, in our opinion, the best operational side home builder software on the market. We've got all these things that we've done and continue to do so that you're not dealing with custom software, you're dealing with a productized edition of a world-class software hosted by Microsoft and managed by Microsoft from an infrastructure level, but meant for your business from a feature functionality standpoint. A lot of companies face the challenge of, do I go get something, that's got the exact features I need, but maybe it doesn't have the support of a company like a Microsoft, or do I go get something like with the support of a company like Microsoft and customize it? 365 Home Builder gives you the best of both worlds there. So a lot of these features that Lisa's going to show you today are really, where the magic is at. So, home builders deal with multiple entities, and of course, we've got a really nice solution for managing that as you spin up a new project. And you've got to create a new LLC. Well, how do you do that? And then how do you manage your vendors across those entities? And how do you log in and log out? All those things are handled beautifully. Anybody that uses Office, we've got a really nice two-way Excel integration that helps the accounting team manage mass data updates and bring in data from your legacy systems as we do the implementation. We've got tons of out-of-the-box reports. We've also got a Power BI set of reports that we're going to show you that can give you job budget to actual reporting, margin reporting, all the things you need there. Your closing statements, right? This is not something that base Dynamics 365 Business Central has. None of this stuff is, except for the Office integration, where you're going to be able to streamline that closing process, track your vendor insurance, print your checks out on your own check stock, and print your MICR code at the bottom of them. Manage bank draws and lien waivers if you do holdback. One that I don't have on here that I love is AP automation. So dealing with the inbound vendor invoices that you get, where normally there's a lot of internal work that goes into taking those vendor invoices and creating the payable transaction in the accounting system, circulating it for approval. We can automate that entire process right inside of 365 Home Builder, automatically bringing in PDFs, emails, reading them, automatically inputting the payable transaction in the ERP, keeping an image of that vendor invoice that came in, electronically circulating it for approval, and really just streamlining that whole process and taking the load off of your AP team. So that's one that I didn't put on here that I did want to mention. So everything you see today is mobile. This is a modern web-based application. Microsoft hosts this application. They manage backups. They manage performance monitoring, resource allocation, all the things that you've got to, if you have an on-premise system, you've got to have an IT provider do. Microsoft now does all that for you as part of your subscription. Everything is mobile. You can get it on an iPad, on an iPhone, on an Android, whatever your device is. You just download an app and you can connect back to 365 Home Builder. Likewise, you can get the application on any web browser. If you're at the Hampton Inn, no problem. You go and you log in, you put your username and password in, and you're in. There's no server to manage. There's no client application to install. If you need access remotely, it's a non-issue. It's a modern web-based application. One other thing Microsoft does here for you is they update the core application 2 times a year. And as your partner with the Western Computer, Home Builder solution on top of that, we make sure that our application is ready for those updates. And what that does is, if any of you have ever gone through an ERP upgrade, it eliminates the idea of being on a system that's 3, 5, 7, 10 years old. I've seen 15, 20-year-old systems out there because the cost to update a system and the business disruption is too much to warrant doing it, and everything works. So let's just keep, plugging along. That's a non-issue. 365 Home Builder, you will always be on the latest release, and those will be updated and new features rolling in every 6 months. So we will show Power BI today, Lisa. If you've got that, great. If you want me to pull it up, just let me know. Power BI is Microsoft's answer to business intelligence. I would bet that some of the people in the audience already use Power BI. It's an industry-leading business intelligence tool. If you've heard of Domo or Tableau or some of the other ones that have been out there for a long time, Power BI is really just taken over the business intelligence market, led all the Gartner third-party consulting reporting analysis, all the what they call the magic quadrant, where they evaluate all these various tools. Power BI has been at the top for 5 straight years. And what it does is it takes the data from 365 Home Builder or from any other system that you're using, and it allows you to create reports without writing code. It's a no-code drag and drop report builder that gives you access to these rich visualizations and helping to understand the key metrics in your business, like how leveraged you are against a job, what are your draws versus, how much money have you received from the customer, and what is your job margin, what types of models are you closing, things like that. So it's a way to visualize your data to get reports out of the system.
So Ryan, if you want to go ahead and just give them a high-level tour, before I
Sure.
get into the demo, that'd be great.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So I'm going to pull up our website here, and I've linked this. And I think what I'll do is I'll give this PowerPoint to Cornerstone to distribute to the people who've been on. So this is out on the Western Computer website. If you click on this, you've got all of our various solutions. I don't want to chat right now, Shane. So all the various solutions that we offer, right? And all of the industries that we specialize in. You'll see home building right here. So when you go to our Power BI page, these in green are built for 365 Home Builder. So job equity report, budget to actual, margin report, some financial information, AP report. So you can go actually on our website and click on any one of these. And given that this is Power BI embedded in a website, so it's not really the full Power BI experience, but you can actually play with these reports. They're live reports against demo data. And so I'll open up our AP report, and you can see here, what's my AP by aging bucket? What are my largest open invoices? And you'll see if I click on this top one from American Wood Exports, all the data is going to go ahead and refresh and change. Or I can select multiple. And this is meant to be an example of what you can do with Power BI. This report might not be exactly what your company is looking for, but what we do, everybody wants different reports. In our experience, there's not a default set of reports that's going to meet everybody's needs. Now, we do have out of the box reporting. There are hundreds of reports in the base product. We've got out of the box Power BI reports as well, but you can also build on top of these, and we'll typically do that as part of a project, provide some consulting to, number one, educate your team on how to fish with Power BI, and number two, build reports for you if it's not something that you want to do. So let's look at our margin. Oh, go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah. So basically, the reports that you guys see, we can drop in to your environment on top of your data sets, and it will automatically pull in your data into these reports. Like Ryan said, this is demo data that is not hooked to an active data set, right? This is my demo data. So therefore, it's not going to be up to date or anything like that, but it's here just to give you an idea of what is possible. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, this report here, we've got all of our various projects that we've done, gross profit, and being able to view this information in multiple ways. What was my sale price? What was my cost? What was my profit? And it's meant to get a quick and easy view. And you could pop these reports out. You can export this stuff to Excel. You can sort and filter. You could build these reports out really to meet your needs as an individual home builder. So you can go out on our website when you get this PowerPoint, click this link and check out all these various reports, one for the financials, and then I'll move on. Seeing your cash position and your expenses and your revenue and what that ratio looks like, and tracking things from a financial level, from a job margin level, from a budget to actual level, from an AP perspective. The beauty of the Microsoft story is that you can take all of these reports and you can actually embed them right inside of 365 Home Builder without writing any code, because they're both Microsoft products. And this gives a tremendous advantage over the competition. And there are a number of things on the Microsoft side that give a tremendous advantage over our competition. We've seen solutions from a number of our competitors out there. When we're talking to home builders, what are they looking at? It might be a Sage or an Acumatica. Companies like that, they've got good products and reasonably good feature sets. Where they can never touch Microsoft is the cloud technology, the cyber security. On the cloud piece of it, and I'll briefly go over this, but Microsoft owns their own cloud. It's called Microsoft Azure, and there are only three big public clouds in the world. You've got Google, you've got Amazon Web Services, and you've got Azure. Microsoft hosts 365 Home Builder on Azure themselves behind a curtain, ultra secure from a data security perspective. You've got U.S. Department of Defense using Dynamics 365. Endless compliance and security and privacy controls to protect your data and to protect your organization from ransomware, which we do see in the marketplace. Those ransomwares and cyber attacks are all over the place. So one of the big advantages in terms of risk mitigation is securing your data. If you use Microsoft products like Teams and Excel and Word, you've got a tremendous use case there with all of the native integration. I mentioned the two-way Excel integration. Lisa, are you going to show that at all, the Excel piece of it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. So I think that resonates typically with our home builders. But you've also, if you're getting into using Teams, you can actually you can see Business Central data in Teams without even having a Business Central license if you've got a Teams license as part of your Office pack. So as you start to use Teams and leverage it for its, what it's meant for, which is more than chat and more than meetings, you're supposed to break up into teams within your organization and share and collaborate. Well, viewing your accounting system data right inside of Teams because of the native Microsoft integration and not even requiring a license for it, another powerful story. And then I mentioned the Power Platform. These are all areas that our competitors can't really touch. I showed you Power BI. You've also got Power Automate, which is a no-code workflow tool. Hundreds of pre-built endpoints. You can build workflows to your heart's content. Some of those use rights come with Business Central. You've got quite an advantage here by having an industry-specific solution, but one that's hosted by Microsoft and takes advantage of all the Microsoft technologies. That's all I've got for my part of this. And I think what I'd like to say is that as we go along, if you want to put questions into the chat, feel free. If you have questions about 365 Home Builder as a product or Western Computer, and you want to put them in now, I'll go ahead and queue up answers, and we're going to have a Q&A portion at the end of this where we can answer them. And then likewise, as Lisa goes through this demo, we want to hear from you all. What are your questions? What's keeping you up at night? What do you want to know about 365 Home Builder? And we'll do our best to get all those answered. So with that said, I think I'm ready to turn it over to Lisa for the demo.
So this is one of the role centers that come with the package. This one is actually for the controller. We have other ones that are for AP clerks, AP coordinators, folks that are just working on jobs, people that are only doing cash management, whatever the case might be. We've got several different role centers that have been set up specifically and tailored based on the role of the individual that's doing the work. So let me move my cursor over. So when we're looking at your role center, there's several different components. The first thing is up here at the very tip top is a black bar that is how we get around in the system, one of the ways that we can find things. And I usually say, okay, you only do a couple of things once a year. And one of those happens to be the 1099s, right? So if I go into, and I cannot remember where the 1099 processing happens to be, I can actually type in 1099 and it's going to come up and show me my form boxes, my inquiry, and where I can print and transmit all of the NEC reports that we can print out of the system. So what the magnifying glass does at the top, it's functional related. So you've got a couple of ways you can get to anything in the system using the magnifying glass. The next thing is that we can turn on notifications for many different things, one of which could be, it says that if information on a vendor changes, right, like the address or something like that, it'll send you a notification to say, you might want to take a look at this. We can also turn on approvals that says if the address changes on a vendor card, that it will prevent you from writing them a check until somebody approves it. We don't see that issue a lot with our builders, but it is functionality that is used within the system for some of the larger clients that have had an issue with fraud within their AP department. The other thing that I'm going to talk about is the question mark, which is where your help is. This is online help, and you can go to help and support. You can go to keyboard shortcuts. You can even go to the community and read questions and responses that have been put out there by users like yourself or many other different industries. And you can search help and support to get some answers on whatever you're seeing on the screen at that point in time. Okay. So the next area we're going to talk about is the first line on the role center. This is more of a departmental view, and you've got a couple of different ways of getting around the system. But if you wanted to see, fixed assets, You could have it here in your list view, or you can have a departmental view of fixed assets to where I can go directly into my fixed assets. I can add fixed assets. We can calculate depreciation, anything from straight line to double declining balance, combination, user defined, custom depreciation, as well as you can have, if in the States, at the IRS, or in Canada, the Canadian Revenue Authority, if they give you an incentive for investing in equipment, they might give you accelerated depreciation just for tax purposes. So we can have your book depreciation, but we can also maintain a tax depreciation for your tax reporting. So some folks like to use that at the top. Now, the other thing is, when we look at from a navigation standpoint, you'll notice that when I get near the green area, which on your screen, it might not be green, but notice that my big purple cursor goes from a pointer to a finger that looks like my finger on my mouse. That says that I can drill down on that to see what it looks like. Okay. So if I go into vendors, let's say, and click on vendors, it will actually open up my list of vendors. Okay. So what you're seeing here from a vendor standpoint is, let's look at AAA house painting, right? So the balance that we owe them right now is $51.51. It also happens to be the balance due. I haven't written checks in the demo system, so therefore my balance due and my outstanding balance are the same number. Typically what this is if you've got any terms with any of your trades or your administrative vendors. Hold on, I didn't want to go there yet. It will show you what you owe them in total. Balance due is what is due on or before today, right? So it's always going to give you a picture of what your current position is with them. It'll show what the total number of payments are for the year. Any of these, I can actually drill down on that, and it will show me the detail. I've got 3 invoices out here for AAA house painting, right, for 3 different amounts, okay? All of which we can choose and send to a payment journal if that's how you prefer to do your payments, or we can actually pull them in doing something called suggest vendor payments into our payment journal. Right. The other thing that you'll notice is that I have something here on the right that is called a fact box, which is really all the statistical information that you've got on AAA without having to open up the vendor card. Everything from the balance. Outstanding orders are the open POs that have not been approved for payment yet in your purchasing system. Overdue amounts is the 5151. If we were doing holdback, we could drill on this and see holdback or retention, how much is still outstanding. And then the history is going to show you what outstanding purchase orders we've got, what posted invoices we have. So at your fingertips, you've got all the information in a list view. Now, when we're looking at a vendor, and I'm going to do Bravo Construction, one of the things that's important to our builders is to be able to track their insurance information, right? So if I go down to related and vendor and then insurance, this is going to open and it's going to say, and this can be user definable, but it's usually general and it's workers' comp that we're seeing. Sometimes it's umbrella, sometimes it's auto. If this is required for you to pay them, then you're going to check insurance required and you're tracking the policy number, policy start date, and expiration date. The system will not allow you to post an invoice from a vendor if their insurance is expired, and you also cannot write a check. So it's kind of a hard and fast. We do have a report that you can run that shows you at any point in time, anytime into the future, who's expired. So you can get that back to either your builders, your site superintendents, or to your purchasing group. Say, hey, get up with your trades. We're missing, we got some expirations that are coming up. So let's not stop paying them. Right, in this day and age, if you want to take care of your good trades and keep them, so you can get ahead of it and you can actually look out and run this report 2 months in advance, 3 months in advance, so you can provide that list to your purchasing folks so they can work with the trades to get it loaded in. All right. So let's go back to the home page. I'm going to click on Home Builder USA. Okay. So then the other thing I wanted to show you on vendors is that you might like this view and you might not. And this is done on an individual basis. I can go up to my gear and do personalize, and I can change anything that's on the screen. I can hit plus field and see what else, see all of this information that we've got that I could add to the screen, but I don't necessarily want to add to my list view, right? You can do that. You can take phone number and say, hey, I want it over here. You can drag and drop it and move it around. You can do that on any screen. If I open up 12 Bravo, right, on the vendor page, right, I can say, hey, vendor supplier, vendor status. I really want vendor status up here above the number. You can drag and drop it, put it wherever you want to. You can choose under show more, right? I've got a primary contact code, which I've got as I could show it always, or I can remove it. So this is something that you got complete control over, which is what does my screen look like and what's important. Even down to the place where we can do EFTs out of the box, right? Or we can do check writing, we can do the 1099s as well. So you've got full control over what you want your desktop, if you will, to look like. There is, if you want it to be consistent for, let's say, everybody in AP, you could do a global configuration just for that role, and you can minimize everything and put it in the order that you want it to. And then that way everybody starts with the same look and feel, which is really nice. Our builders like that because it really helps when they've got a position where there's a little bit of turnover. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is let's talk about entities. All right, because most of our builders have multiple entities that they're dealing with. Some have an entity, they spin up an LLC for every project that they work on to limit their liability. Others are doing it as a project underneath an entity, but they've got one construction entity, they've got a land development entity. However the legal entities are set up is fine. So if I come into and look at South Shore, and South Shore is one of the companies in my demo database. Well, actually, I'm going to come down here to Mississippi Living. I'm going to go to the entity setup. Now, why is this important? Number one, when we're writing checks out of the system, we are writing on blank check stock. So we're even printing the MICR code. We're printing everything to do with the company information and with the banking information. So it's really important that we get the legal name that you want to appear in the upper left on your check to be correct. That's what this is, right? Fiscal year end is we can actually close year ends separately. If you've got some legal entities because you acquired them that close on June 30th, but everybody else is the same as the calendar at 12/31, then by updating the fiscal year end, we can close some based on mid-year and June 30th, and then we can close the rest of them at the end of the year, right? You'll need the federal ID number to go on all your regulatory reports. If you have partnerships, we can track on the entity card who the partners are, whether or not they are a financial entity already within the software, meaning that you might have one entity who invest in the smaller entities. And so that will help you track the basis of the flow through accounting and flow through distributions. We can track capital ownership, profit ownership, the date of the change and why, if need be. About half of our builders actually have partnerships that they're working through, and so this allows them to track that information. So then here on the billing information, this is what's going to show up on the check in the upper left is this address. And then under payments, we can also do electronic signatures, and we can set it up per bank account to where you decide whether or not you want an electronic signature, never, or sometimes depending on the amount. Okay. So we've got several builders that are saying, okay, up to $2,000 or up to $5,000. I just put an electronic signature on it. It's just going to go through, right? And then we're also identifying what is the main bank account for this entity. Okay. So that allows us to have an unlimited number of companies within the same database. So that allows us to share all of the trades if they're in the same area, so you don't have to maintain them if they're in separate companies. And we can do all of the regulatory reporting and financial reporting based on the entity code. All right. Okay. So the next thing that I want to look at is the chart of accounts. So the chart of accounts for us is a little bit more than just a list of the GL accounts. What we do is we help our builders come up and almost build out what their balance sheet looks like with the headers, the begin totals and end totals. Because if you wanted to come in here, as you can see, these are actual posting accounts. But if I come down here to the end total, which is cash and cash equivalents, it's showing me the $16 million. Okay. Michelle, I didn't see that, but does it pull from Sage into here? If we're doing a conversion from Sage to 365, are you talking about Sage financials or are you talking about the Sage purchasing side? She might answer me in a minute. If we're doing a conversion from Sage Financial Timberline into 365, yes, we are able to pull out the information out of Sage, and we can bring in the detail from a job cost standpoint, and we bring out the net changes on the general ledger, so we can go back a couple of years. So we do have that capability, if that's what you meant. Perfect. All right, I saw you pop up in the corner because it's over here. Okay. Now, one of the things that is unique about our system is the ability to filter on data. As you can see, this is my whole chart of account, and the way that I've labeled my cash accounts is by entity, so I can keep up with who's on first, right? So I can come in here and I can filter my totals a couple of different ways. The first way is by entity or company, depends on what you want to call it. So we just looked at 520. So I'm going to come down here and put in 520. You're going to notice that all of my net change balance at date and balances, right, are now filtered based on 520. Anything else that doesn't have 520 on it goes away. We don't see it. So what you're seeing here is entries that have been made just for 520. If I come down to the WIP account and I'm going to come up here to the search field and type in WIP, right? Here's my contracts, right? Homes and model homes. This number is only for 520, right? If I click on the 2038, you're going to see where, okay, I basically brought in balances, right, for 520. So I can change that to be 110 and be South Shore, and then you're going to see the posted invoices as well as the beginning balances. Okay. Now, the other thing that we can do, and I've been told by some of the folks at Cornerstone, is that we have this ability on date filter. I can do a search within a period, right? When I'm doing a date filter lookup, it's not going to be for the pure month. I can do it across months. I can do it for a couple of days within the month. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in 7/05/22, and I'm going to run it through 07/14/22. Now that's 9 days. This could be you're in Eastern North Carolina and you're near Rocky Mount. They just got hit by a tornado, pretty bad one. So you might want to see in a month or two to find out what that impact of the tornado was on your expenses. So you can just do it, during the cleanup period. So if I hit 7/5 to 7/14, notice that, all right, I had a change in assets here, cash and cash equivalent. Okay, that's great. This is showing me what my balance is as of 7/14, but it's showing me that during this point in time, I only had $850 on asset change. But I can look, I can also come out here and do, trying to remember, 04, 05, 22, ... Let's say 515. Now, watch the numbers change again, right? So now you're seeing a big change in the bank account, right? But it's specifically just for that time period. So during that 6 weeks, here's my deposits that went in. So you're able to look at any transaction starting with the chart of accounts. You can drill down on that. All right. We're going to go look at a payment here that went out to Bravo. And I'm going to come up here and click on Find Entries. So within 2 clicks, I can go anywhere in the system. Okay. So as it's counting records on what went into this payment journal, you're going to see there were 2 general ledger entries that were created, right? One is to accounts payable and the other one is to the cash account, right? Then we've got a vendor ledger entry because we paid 12 Bravo, right? So that's his vendor ledger entry. That's his payment. If you want to see what that applied to, right, then I can do applied entries and it shows me it applied to that invoice. So the point that I'm making is that, hey, from one entry in the system, I can navigate with 1-2 clicks, look at the bank account, the vendor, the check ledger entries, all of that stuff. Do the same thing on the invoice side as well. It'll even take you to the job ledger. Okay. Okay. The other thing that the system comes with is automatic do to do froms. Depending on what software you guys are used to having, you might be booking the do to do froms yourself. So anytime that we're putting in a transaction, whether it's a general journal or whether a journal entry or it's a purchase invoice, and there's a difference in entities, the system will automatically book the do to and do from between the actual companies. Now, if we have not set up that these two should have that kind of relationship, it will stop you and say, no, we have not set up the intercompany relationship between those 2 companies. Therefore, you can't post that invoice. Okay. All right. So the next thing that I want to look at is briefly, let's look at bank accounts, right? In 365, we are tracking bank accounts, we're tracking loan accounts, we're also tracking credit cards, because one of the things that we can do is we can link directly to the credit card, we can link directly to the bank account. Most of the lenders will not let us link to them so we can download our transactions on that loan, but we're actually tracking it through the draw system, that we're treating it like it is a large loan, like a subdivision loan or something like that. So you can do your own reconciliation against their statement to make sure that they actually have recognized that you've closed 2 houses and paid off 2 of the loans already. So it allows you to do a reconciliation just like you do on the bank account. With the credit card, we can download the credit card transactions into a payment reconciliation, which I'll show you in just a little bit. But what I want to focus on is in 520 Bank First. What would go in here is we need the name of the bank, we need the bank account, right? We're going to talk about other things here. We need the address because what shows up in the middle of your check comes from this page, right? We have the transit number. If we're doing EFTs or ACHs, whichever way you call it, we can actually set up the vendor's preferred bank account, so we can do ACHs to the vendors, and we can do that directly from the system. So we can either set up the vendors as being ACH electronic or being check writing. So when you run the checks, you'll know which group you're going to be pulling in. So on the bank account, we're listing the US, right? Because that's our export format that we need to do. We've got the format for the EFTs. It's a CCD format, which 90% of the time is exactly what the banks will accept because that's kind of the standard. We also do positive pay exporting if you're doing that today with your banks. Usually see it with whoever the main bank account is. that's writing the majority of the checks that we see, usually see positive pay that is transmitted. Usually what we're transmitting is the not only the check number and the date, the payee. There's 4 things, and the amount. There we go, and the amount, right? So that way, if they wash anything on that check, it's not going to match. Okay. All right. So then the way that some of the builders spin up an LLC, because they're starting new projects all the time, you need the ability to create that bank account and be able to write checks today. So we've given you an area called check printing that allows you to define, and yes, we will train you how to do this, what those letters and numbers actually meant, and to match. So the C and the A are actually Micker symbols, right? One of them is on us and the other one's in transit. So we can put in your Micker layout. You can put in your check number leading zeros and the width. Here's that electronic signature that we talked about, right? That says if no more than $1,000, that means everything under $1,000 is going to have that electronic signature on it. And then if you're using pre-printed check stock, which we rarely see today, then we would turn that on and we would be printing data onto the check instead of creating the check. We want to include the company address, and if any of your bank accounts have that fractional ID, all of it is here for us to print your checks. Okay. When we're able to link your bank account to the bank, when we go in and do the bank reconciliation, and let me open that up, then by clicking on bank, you can click on import bank statement. And if it is directly linked, it comes down and says, how many days do you want to bring in? Then what you're downloading shows up over here, which I happen to have stuff that I just keyed in because I'm not connected to a bank account, but your whole transaction statements, all of your deposits, all of your credits, your checks, things that are automatically withdrawn from your account will be on the left because that's your bank statement. On the right-hand side, that's what we've posted in 365. So then the next thing we would do is we would do batching and say match automatically, right? And then it's going to go and match everything on the left to what it can find on the right. And then what we end up focusing on are the things that are not matched, like this EFT for 16.5, right? Oh, okay. Now, normally it's not this obvious because of just it's pages and pages of information that you're looking at, but we find what we want to match on the left and also on the right, and we highlight that one. And then I come up to matching and I go match manually. So now notice it turned green. Okay. Bank recs are so easy. You know, what we're trying to do is to get to the statement ending balance number, which I'm so far off. I'm 32,000 off. But I will tell you, for our builders, it's real easy. I will say it's tough to maintain it in a demo environment because I'm not writing checks all the time. But that's how easy the bank reconciliation is. So the next thing, I'm keeping an eye on time. I'm going to real quick show you the payment reconciliation where we handle credit cards. So when I'm bringing in, looks like I've got something here. So when we're bringing in and downloading the transactions from the American Express, from the Citibank, from whoever your credit card company is, what it does is that it will bring it in here, and the first time that you start working on it, you're going to say, oh, worldwide importers, and you're going to go up and you're going to do a map to text. So that way, the next time you get worldwide importers, you can put in what the debit account is, what the credit account is, or in this case, it's a vendor, right? So it can even, if you're out there paying some of your invoices with a credit card, we can set that up as a vendor, and then the system will go and look for the invoice that we just paid, and we'll do the reconciliation that way. So that one's real cool. Our builders like that one a lot because credit cards are a pain, no doubt. In the time that we've got left, I'm going to talk just briefly about jobs And then we'll do closing document. And then if anybody has any questions about loan draws, we can talk about them as well. Okay. So in the jobs list, what you're going to see, and based on the integration with your purchasing system, the systems stay in sync as far as jobs are created in your purchasing system, and they are automatically synced into your accounting system. And the reason that we want to do that is because, number one, you're going to get POs issued, and which we're going to house. And then as they get completed, we're going to get the notification that we need to post it. So anything that is generated in your purchasing system will be automatically posted. So no more posting, manually creating credit memos or back charges and posting those. Those will come automatically from your purchasing system. And any invoice that is an approved PO for payment, they all post automatically. So depending on how manual your system is today, a lot of that will definitely improve. But what a job card does on the accounting side is that it gives us basic information about the description. Usually it's a combination of what the project name is and what the lot number is. Who is the buyer? We're also tracking the buyers as customers. So when you're doing a customer deposit, you're actually putting it against the customer. So when we do the closing document, it pulls it in automatically to give them credit for the deposit. So that will reduce the amount of money you're going to get at closing, right? The other pieces that we're tracking are that we get from the purchasing side is job start dates. We're also getting, if there's a phase that's assigned to this job, we'd get a phase number or letter, however you've got that set up. Lot type, again, it's user definable on the construction side of the house. It's just a text field to us. Down in here, these are all your cost codes, and these just happen to be the 7-digit cost codes that NAHAB talks about. I figured that would be the easiest thing to do in my demo database because people would recognize it. We tend to see 3 to 5 digit cost codes. I rarely see 7-digit, just saying. But what we're tracking here is when the estimate is issued on the job, it comes into 365 automatically, and it shows what your issued estimate is. We also track the difference between the original budget and the revised budget, so you can do reporting against that. Billable happens to be your POs that have been issued out of purchasing. Like I mentioned earlier, we do get a copy of those, and we keep them on hand until they get posted. And then once it's actually been posted, whether it's a PO related invoice or whether it's something like permits or something like that, then there's your actual cost. So at any point in time, you can see that the budget that's been issued is 103. Our total commitment is 17,989. And then total actual cost to date are 102. Plus, we also get the sales price. All right. Depending on how you've got that set up, it could be one price. It could be multiple prices, including your incentives, option price, lot premium, anything like that. And then we're able to post those to different places on the GL using our posting groups that controls posting. All right. So if we keep sliding down here, we have a tab for sales information. So when the contract is ratified, the accounting system gets the contract date, gets the customer, of course. We already know what the model is. Usually before we know the model, we know what the proposed closing date is. That was written on the contract. So accounting can begin to do some cash flow analysis and projections based on when we're expecting the house to close, right? If we've got planned square footage set up on the purchasing side, we'll get the planned square footage, the model, we'll get any extra cost. When the design center meeting is completed, we'll get a date there. So we're keeping up with whatever information you've got in your purchasing system. So accounting doesn't have to go look in your construction side, right? You'll have all the information that you need. And then, of course, under the lot information, this is the physical address for the lot, county, lot number, Lot status, we're not seeing that as much as we're seeing the other status up above these days. But lot size could actually be square footage as well, and then lot premium. Okay. So those, this is how we're housing on the accounting side what a job card looks like. Okay. All right. Now, the last thing I want to do real quick, let's talk about the closing document. This also makes us unique. We have closing documents, we have closing templates, and what they normally look like is whatever that HUD, that Alta, whatever that is that you've got. We encourage you see the lines down here when we're setting up the template. I want anybody, I want your teenager to come in because they need to work and they can't find a job, don't want to work at McDonald's, but they want to work for you this summer. I want them to be able to take that closing document and go down the line and key the numbers in over here on the side, right? So we do our best to keep these in alignment with whatever that your document looks like, and we're recording all of your expenses and some of your credits, depending on whether or not we're prorating the homeowner's dues, we're prorating property tax or anything like that. We can also, at this time, if there's a loan on this particular lot, we can pay it off as part of the closing statement. Or if you're not doing draws, but you have just one big loan, then we can have that as a line here. When we post this, what happens is that we're not only recognizing the revenue, we're recognizing the credits and debits. We're not posting to WIP at this time because these are going to end up going exactly where you want them to end up post-closing, right? We're also making an entry into the bank. And on top of that, the system behind the scenes will go out there and by cost code, will do a credit to WIP and a debit to cost of sales. So all of those transactions happen at one time by you posting this, which everybody gets really excited about the first time they get to do it. They're like, this is so easy. So there's a few other things that in the teaching that we point out in the beginning, because we're not going to have the sales information in there. But anyway, this one's kind of our piece that everybody starts to do backflips on because it makes it doing closing documents so easy. So I'm being aware of time. We've got 6 minutes left, so I thought I would stop at this point and answer any questions that have come up that I did not catch out of the corner of my eye.
Any questions that you want to ask about Western Computer, about the process to implement anything, feature functionality? Now's certainly the time to let us know, and we're glad to answer that for you.
Hey, Ryan, I don't know if you have full access. This is Stuart to the chat, but we have a question from Michelle. And she wanted to know if 365 HomeBuilder links up to VMT.
So
I'll take it.
Yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah. In our before we went to the cloud, the answer is yes. Do we still have customers that are on Builder MT? Yes, we do. We could not take Builder MT to the cloud because of Firebird, to be honest. We have to have DLLs in order to communicate with Builder MT, and we can't do that in the cloud. So
yeah. The short story is no. I mean, we're not going to integrate Builder MT to the cloud version of this application. It's not on the roadmap. It's not something that we're interested in doing. Yeah. And so Builder Links is our partner for the operational side stuff. Fantastic piece of software, that we can get you linked up. And we've been converting companies to that application for things like scheduling and estimating and takeoffs and purchasing and all the other operational side stuff.
Yep.
Sales and studio design, front end, things like that. So, where 365 HomeBuilder really comes in, it's in our opinion, the industry leader in the financial piece. Nobody does it better. Nobody's got the Microsoft hosting and backend and all the features that Microsoft has, and nobody's got a solution. This is important. built for home builders, not just a project application that you can also shoehorn a home builder into, but something built for home builders.
Yeah.
So that's what we offer there, and certainly I'd steer you towards Builder Links. We're not going to integrate this to Builder MT.
All right.
So, Michelle,
Michelle, oh, you
Yep,
see it, Lisa?
I
Okay.
saw it. So, sales simplicity. So Michelle, just our first 7 years, 8 years in the market, we only connected to Builder MT. Just so you know. So very familiar with sales simplicity and Builder MT. Sales simplicity, Builder Links that Ryan talked about, has a sales CRM module and a sales administration module that blows sales simplicity out of the water. It allows you to connect to your website and show which ones are available, which models can go on, what lots. It allows you to get your own login as a buyer, and you can even look at design options. You can see what the colors of the appliances are, what the appliances look like. All of this is online, which was huge during COVID. It also allows you to have all of the documentation that you need, right, to go to contract. All of that is generated, and the e-signatures are not using DocuSign. That's part of what Builder Links has. It's got, and I'm going to tell you, I love it. And the reason being is because it sends us all the information on the customer. It sends all of the breakdown on the sales prices, and I get that ratified date and the proposed closing date. So I like it a lot. After the first 7 years of doing this back in the 2010s, that's all that we did. So I would highly recommend, as you can tell. I get excited. I mean, we haven't worked with a partner that has the breadth and the depth of functionality that Builder Links does. And if you've got any more questions about that, we can take it offline and talk about next steps. Oh, absolutely. Yes, we do. That even came from Builder
Builders
MT.
you've converted that we could chat with. Yeah, no question. We have
Yep.
those. So we can link you up with them. Absolutely. We got 1 minute left, guys. I want to respect everybody's time. If there's any other questions, feel free to reach out to Stuart or Kay.